I want us to talk about self-image and
Mm.
using the same the family relationships and how it may affect our self-image, because I kind of feel this is usually a big problem, not only for a boy child but also for a girl child. So where would this be coming from? What are some of the things that we may have gone through in our families that may actually affect our self-image? Because I believe that's where everything begins, how you see
Mm.
yourself. So
Mm.
I want us to talk about that, and then we go into the dynamics.
Okay, so a lot of things, abandonment or neglect when you were young, will affect your self-image. And again, sometimes it happens in a way that's very subtle, because there's just, especially now, even those very early years, 0 to 2 years, there's a need for attachment. Okay, there's a lot of the attachment theory, where if your primary caregiver is not fully present, is not attuned to your needs, then you detach, you feel that attachment is never formed. Okay, or sometimes your caregiver early did not, was inconsistent. Today they are loving you, tomorrow they are yelling at you. Harsh, physical, of course, physical punishment, yelling, being neglected, not having your needs met. For example, when you cry, you're not picked. You're not picked, you're not held. Touch is very important. So those are what's very important for those first 2 years, which actually is important even for my 13-year-old son. Exactly. Yeah, even adults. So there's just those experiences where there was neglect, and the neglect could have been physical, there could have also been emotional neglect. Parents going through so much of their own things, parent needing to travel or to work away from home, a parent having to leave their child to be taken care of by relatives, for example. So there's that. But there's also, Dr. Lema, there's also the expectations we have of our children right from when they are young. Beginning to call them my little astronaut, and my little genius. So we begin, and our children realize that when I act a certain way, that's when I get approval. And because approval and love and acceptance is a major core need, therefore let me act out a certain way. For me, my identity was in performance. I was the smart one. I was the one who would, and a lot of people do that as well, so when adults around you praise you for a certain thing, you're like, that's the way to get approval is to do that. So if it is being a clown or doing well in school, whatever it is, or just being hardworking and neat, even if it's at home or whatever. So there's also that, there's the expectations from adults that build our self-image. So what happens is that now as you grow, when you begin to see yourself only in the light of the messages around you. Okay, and that is an aspect of self-image that we don't really focus on. We always, even when we're talking about trauma and all, we talked about the neglect, the abuse, which is very important. It's important for us to talk about that. But other things also shape our self-image. Yes, the subtle ones, the expectations, the words that we speak, the comments that we make. Okay, and unfortunately now it's not even in the family system, it's what we see on social media, the expectations that are there for our kids out there because of what's out there in social media. So all those things eat into our self-image.
Wow. So what about affirmation? So how do we affirm our children? Because I'm imagining some parents will call their kids like a little genius, my little astronomer, or a doctor. That's also one of the common ones.
Oh, a big one, yes.
Yeah. Because they're trying to affirm, because that's what they wish for them. It's just maybe the kids may get a different need being met through that. So how do we affirm our children, like the correct way of doing this?
Yes, there's and I want to just tell parents who are watching this to just go and begin to read about the growth mindset. So I'm just going to touch on it a little bit here. There is a difference between praise and encouragement. And so we really focus on praise as parents. Praise focuses on the end result. Praise is the one that says, you're my little genius, you're smart, oh, you're so cute, you're so beautiful. When you affirm them, you only use the end product. Okay. And so we don't really realize what it takes to get there. So I'm guilty of that. Earlier, I used to call my son my little genius, oh, you're so smart. Yes, you're my little genius. And like I said, we begin to, as children, we begin to do things that will quickly bring that, because we become children become approval addicts. Okay, they become addicted. So what's the best way to get me to get my mom to praise me? And so what happens with praise is that children now begin to avoid things that are new, things that take long. They only stick with what's familiar. Looking good is the name of the game. That's what they learn. Okay. Wow. So that's praise. It's very much focused on the adult's opinion. Okay. But then there is what we call encouragement. And encouragement is process oriented. So praise is a fixed mindset, which is the opposite of growth mindset, where encouragement means. So even when it comes to affirmation, I'm very careful about affirmations because it's become such a big thing these days. But we need to really be aware that there's a process that goes into that final word that you are giving yourself. And we need to begin even ourselves to be process-oriented people. What does it take to get there? So some of the things that now you can use to affirm your children using the growth mindset, so what growth mindset says is that anyone is capable of getting there, and there's a process involved in getting there. Therefore, we look at words like, gosh, that took a lot of perseverance for you to do that. Rather than saying, you're so strong. You say, that took a lot of perseverance to get there. Or I noticed how you took care of your little sister. That is kindness. So you begin to name those things rather than saying, oh, you're kind. Oh, you're patient. Okay. What process-oriented words can you use? That took a lot of hard work. That took repeated, like when you're talking to your child about their results, you say it takes repeated practice. It takes practice. It takes revision. It takes practice, so that we stop looking at the end result. But what that means for us, Lema, is that we are going to have to release even the grades and the numbers and begin to talk about what it takes, the step by step. Totally against our education system, which is all about grades and numbers, and and so it's a mind shift. So even for us as adults and as parents, we need to really take in the growth mindset. What does it take? So as we are affirming our children, let's talk about the process it gets to get there. So you got 60 this time, and last time you got 55. That is such an improvement. Not, oh, you got 60. So how many people are ahead of you? Because that's usually what we want to know, like, were you the best? Or how many people were ahead of you? So
you are number one. It's true.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So rather than just saying my doctor, my engineer, my this, let's begin to tease out the character strengths that it takes to get there. And those are the things that we are lacking even in our society, the character strengths that you need to be that doctor, to be that politician, to be that, So for me, that's how affirmation looks like. And please, there's so much literature about growth mindset. Please go and read. It will be very helpful. It even gives you words to use to motivate your children. Yeah.
Wow. That is so true. And I think I also need to change, because as much as sometimes you try to point out the character, I think there's a way the mind is still fixed on the old habits of going on for the results. Like, oh my God, you did that, you are a genius. Oh, that you're so strong, you're a great man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yes. That's and you see, even changing from that to growth mindset needs
yeah,
a growth mindset. Do you know that? It
yes,
means you cannot switch completely.
yeah,
So you allow yourself to transition. We can never be fixed mindset or growth mindset 100%. So it
yeah,
requires a growth mindset saying, oh, I improved. So, I
yeah,
mean, back to the story I was telling you about my son, I used to call him my genius. Oh my gosh, I used to say it so many times because, I just thought that was the right thing to do. Then he got to year 4 and he was supposed to be studying for his, because he just used to,
yeah,
he
just
didn't
go,
need to do much to get, yes.
yeah,
And I was like, exams are coming up and you're not reading. And in a very cocky way, he looked at me like, but mom, I'm smart. I was like, oh, what have I raised? so it's been a journey. It's been a journey of unraveling that and just transitioning. And I'm glad to say that now there is so much of process-oriented, even vocabulary in my house,
okay,
so
that's
that
nice.
we are always talking about perseverance, effort, process, hard work, repeating things. That if you are stuck, and that's the thing, when you are stuck, it's not, I'm not good at maths.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math yet. So one of the things to help and motivate children is to add the word yet, And again, parents can go and type. There's a powerful talk by Dr. Carol Dweck, who is a proponent of growth mindset. It's called The Power of Yet. When you learn to add yet to your vocabulary to help kids. So even the things they are not good at, we don't, because you see what we do as parents, we avoid talking about the things they're struggling with. We just want to pump them with the positive things. So if they're struggling with math, it's, I'm not good at math yet. So that means it takes a journey. Your brain is growing. We can't have a fixed mindset, because for you to really know that you are not good at something, maybe let's wait until you're 25 or 30, because that's when the frontal lobe is fully developed. Yeah.
Wow, I think she's the author of the growth mindset book.
Yes, she is.
Yeah. Yes. Good. So we move on. So on the shifting dynamics, life is changing, and life is changing fast. We are seeing a lot of things happening in our families, to our families, within our families. Some of the things we know about something, or some of the things we are clueless about. And unfortunately, most of the things may happen and they're really not in our control. So I'm going to talk about the first one, that's really, really becoming common, quote unquote, in our lives these days, is separation and divorce. So how do we protect our children's mental health when they find themselves in this situation? And I think we had 5. I don't know. Time to go through each one of them.
And I think they are all related in the sense that they are things that are out of the norm.
Yes.
So we can really just discuss them. Yeah, as a group. Could you just read them all out for me?
Okay. So there was the separation and divorce. Then there was an absent parent, and then there was a sick or mentally ill parent, and then there was abuse, and then there was addiction, and then death.
Whoa. Yes. And I think, and to be honest, all those are out of the norm situations. They are outside of what society has set, outside of the template. Okay, it's outside of the template. And I think for me, in fact, it's not, we don't complicate this. We don't say there's a different way to handle separation and divorce from death, or a parent who is working away from home. Actually, it is as a parent, as the adult in this dynamic, how are you handling it? That's really it. That's really it, because we cannot, the only way to protect our children's mental health in that space, it's in how we are showing up. It's in how we are managing the stressful situations the best way, because that they just soak that in. They just soak that in. So if my cup, and I like to use the analogy, I like to ask parents, what's in your teacup? We have teacup conversations. Teacup basically means whatever is in your cup is what will spill out during turmoil situations. Okay, and so so all those situations depend on what is inside your cup. And so what's in your cup, if it's hot scalding liquid, when shaky things come, it will pour and it will burn. Or maybe it's a soothing balm of calmness, which is where we all, I always want to achieve for myself and for the parents that I work with, some sense of confidence and purpose and healing and resilience. How can we be resilient in that? So we, in all those situations, Doc, the question is, how are you handling it? How are you showing up? How are you processing it? Are you healing? Because that's just the cue your children will take. Whatever will come out is what they will soak in. And so you're better off working on yourself continuously. And we are not looking for perfection. We are looking for progress. Okay, we're looking for progress. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for we are looking for self-awareness. Actually, we're looking for a moment of, hey, I yelled at my child, wow, and I know why now I know why I yelled. When I was yelling, I didn't know, but I know, you know, and you can even check out a very authentic story I give out there on Dada Sphere about my own experiences with my own struggles, you know, and how that affected how I was showing up with my son. And so if we are real about how we are showing up, there is no perfect formula. And then in this process, let's allow lots of space to make mistakes, because we are human. So if I yell, or if I know that at some point I used, in a space of separation or divorce, I used my child as a pawn, you know, because of my own pain, let me acknowledge that it was a place of pain that I was in. And so let me decide, rather than beat myself up for the things that I did, let me seek my own healing. Let me process. And those are the things I help parents just walk step by step. Just how am I showing up? How can I show up better? How can I forgive myself for the mistakes that I made because I didn't know better, because they were pain-filled mistakes, so that moving forward, I can begin to repair the relationship. Moving forward, I can begin to create a different environment. So you see how all those situations, we can discuss them one by one, but it will still be the same. It will still be the same way we're showing up.
Okay. And so now with interest, okay, I know there could be so many things, but I just want you to mention a few that maybe are the commonest challenges based on your practice. How do people show up commonly? Because as you said, it's out of pain, it's out of anger, it's out of frustration. Sorry, my son.
Be a teacher that will be
Bye, I love you.
Oh, that's cute. Let me tell you, in all my sessions, that happens. Like in most of my sessions, there's always like a, mommy, you know, somehow a crisis happens. Totally part of this conversation.
Yeah.
So I hope you don't edit it out.
I know. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So how should parents show up?
Or how do they show up, first of all?
How do they?
How should?
Yes. How do they and how should they? Because I know could be very wide, but try to just point out common things that you usually see.
Common things. So it's either you show up by reacting or responding. Okay, so those are the two terms again that I really like to. I want people to have at the back. Are you reactive or responsive? Okay, and reactive is often happens out of the lack of self-awareness. Immediately you've been triggered, okay, so you react, you yell, you give for us moms 2-hour lectures, and it's just not stopping, like you're just going on and on. I call it ranting. You just rant and rant and rant. And so yelling, ranting, shouting, giving undeserved consequences, or too long. Sometimes you're like, you're off your gadgets for 2 months, or you're never going to play with your kids for the rest of the term. Things that you know that you will not follow through on. So the reason we react comes from a place of lack of self-awareness. We are feeling like failures. We are feeling angry. We're feeling like we are not doing, just inadequate. Fear. We react out of fear. So those are some of the examples. And then, or sometimes you chapper your child, and you know for sure later, then you're like, that should have been different. So I just want to challenge parents to think about the things they have done that they know deep down, after some introspection, they're like, I could have done this differently. So that's how now we show up reactively. Now, how do we show up? How do we respond then? By responding is a journey. I mean, sometimes you're like, oh my goodness, I responded there. Well done, But it's really about how you can be able to step back, breathe, and say, right now I'm feeling angry, and whatever I do now, it will be about removing the anger that I have, as opposed to teaching the lesson there. So just being more aware, showing up with more calmness, more confidence, more consistency, even in giving your children consequences that you have thought through before. Okay, so it has to do with calm, confidence, purpose, and it's a journey that you walk yourself through. So I usually say you can give the same consequence from a reactive place or from a responsive place. You can take away gadgets, then you add a 2-hour lecture, or you can say, this happened, so let me have your gadgets. You pick it and you calmly walk away. It's the same thing, but you're either reacting or responding. And by the way, the book, if you come to the book unpacks the steps, and the steps and how to show up better.
I think I need a copy of that book myself.
We'll send that to you.
All right. Wow. So the key thing is being in touch with who you are and knowing where you are and how you can always step back from the situation and try to respond. Because I know, like, I think last night I overreacted to something. Actually, What do you do? How do you repair, by the way? How do you repair?
And again, there's a whole chapter on repairing here, but repairing first is one. Self-awareness helps in recognizing that you actually blew up or you reacted. The second thing, Doc, is really forgiving yourself and saying, look, I was tired, or I was in a bad place, or look, I'm human. You're not giving yourself permission to do it next time, but you're forgiving yourself, because it's when we fail, it's what we tell ourselves that will determine whether we move on faster from there. So so recognize where it was coming from, forgive yourself, think through what you need to do to reach out to now the child. And for me, asking and apologizing to a child should be a big part of our parenting journey. And it has to be, because we are human, and when we apologize, we also are teaching them how to handle conflict as well. So, and you see, we've been raised in spaces where apologizing is a sign of weakness, and therefore, they'll deal with it. So that's also what we are teaching our kids. So you can repair, first of all, from a place of self-awareness, forgiving yourself, and then having a conversation. It's like, you know what, mommy yelled too much, or mommy stayed busy, mommy yelled yesterday, and mommy shouldn't have, but this is what mommy was feeling. Not this is what you did. No, You say, this is what mommy was feeling. Because, and for me, even those conversations, I have them because I still have them. I mean, I'm not perfect in that place. I still have to go and apologize and say, you know what, I should have done this different. But what that does is to help also to invite your child also to begin to be at a place of self-awareness themselves. And so I've had moments also, even when my son also comes and says, you know what, I shouldn't have done that, because I do it as well. So it has to be a journey also you offer yourself into. And then also, like, especially with teenagers, then what you need to remember is that you can't go to them too quickly to fix that. You have to also be sure that both of you be calm and they're also calm. Or you be in a good place, because they may still lash out at you when you're going to apologize. So it might just even turn into something uglier. So you have to really be prepared. That's why processing it yourself is very important first. Yeah.
Okay. So we're in the last part. Oh my God, 7 minutes. So how do we heal? So you were raised in this family, and you're now either an adult who's aspiring to have a family, or you already have a family. But you know that, you see what, the way I'm reacting to all this, there's usually a deeper road to it. How do we start our healing journey?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like that you have said journey, because it's an ongoing journey that only ends when we are no longer alive. Like, we really need to accept that for as long as we are alive, we're always going to be growing. We're always going to be transforming. One of the spaces of frustration I get with a lot of clients is, why have I not healed? You know? So again, that caveat is, it's a journey. And the journey starts with self-awareness. The journey starts with beginning to really we are calling it mindfulness, like in the moment, being aware of what I'm feeling while it is happening. It is a muscle that we have. It's very weak for most of us. Just mindfulness, self-awareness, being aware of what is happening when it is happening. I am angry right now. And how does anger show up? Anger shows up for me, I'm shaking, or my palms are it shows up physiologically. It shows up physiologically. My heart is beating. I'm breathing faster. We need to be aware of those things. It shows up behaviorally, of course, how we act out, we yell, and we do that. It shows up emotionally or psychologically, like in your mind, you get cluttered, confusion, thoughts are racing. So that is important. But the journey of healing begins with self-awareness, and to be very clear, this is how I'm feeling. Now, what you're feeling then comes from, again, being aware of where is the feeling coming from. It's coming from thoughts. It's coming from some things I'm telling myself. For example, in a parenting situation, most of the time is, I am failing. I can't do this. It's because the father is not in the picture. It's because I've been traveling a lot. Those are the things that we tell ourselves. Okay. Or so what are you telling us? Just being aware of that. Okay. And then now saying, what do I need to do with these thoughts? Or where are these thoughts coming from? Because thoughts also are coming from some beliefs we have about ourselves. And some fundamental beliefs is, I'm not good enough. Mothers cannot raise sons, things like that, things that society has thrown out there. Children from single parent homes are or when you're raising a child and you're working away from home, this is what will happen. Society has thrown so many beliefs out there about what will result to broken children. And so those are the things sometimes that are so ingrained in us, so that when we see a certain behavior in children, it triggers those things. So that's where the healing starts. The healing starts from acknowledging all those things. Then now you may need therapy. You may need to work with a coach, but some of the things that you can do before you get there is to learn how to journal. So all those things you're discovering, journal them. Learn to take care of what do you do to take care of yours, to feel better? There are some people, it's just a nice warm cup of tea. then get into that practice. If you feel that's what you need, sit and enjoy that tea mindfully. Like taste it, like be present. We should learn to be present in the moment. So see, you're taking the tea and you're running out. Self-care is very simple. We've complicated those things. Okay, being out in nature is one way of begin your healing process. Just taking a walk, being outside there, learning to just be more conscious of what's going on with you. But with the noises around us, a lot of things, especially if you recognize that you've been through something that was intense, give yourself 2 or 3 sessions to just get someone to help you unpack, whether it's a coach, whether it's a therapist, people who are trained in it, not someone who will also just give you cliches and sometimes Bible verses just to slap on top of what you're experiencing. And I'm not against that. I'm not against that. I'm just like, there's a process to that as well. So we do need safe spaces to unpack these things. So that now acknowledgement for me is 60-70% of the journey. When we acknowledge the journey of healing, so it is a lifetime journey, but when it starts with acknowledgement, and acknowledgement is about 60-70%, you've done the healing. So the rest is the work, the tips that you use, the strategies and tools that you need to use.
So the last one. I'm imagining if this is your mom or your dad, or maybe it's a sibling, just someone who's very close in the family, they are the cause of pain. Maybe from the way we treated you, could be abuse, could be, you've heard of people being abused by their fathers, their siblings, or their mothers, or they felt neglected and they were actually told, like, on their faces. So they harbor all this. How do they move on from that? Because this is not someone you can just scrape off from your life. This is not someone you can just decide, okay, from today I'm no longer your mom, your daughter. Something.
Your daughter.
How
And that's a heavy space, especially for a relationship that's still ongoing. And also for someone who did that and is no longer alive. That's also painful because there's just some lack of closure. But either way, your own healing is important. Most of the time we feel like forgiveness is going to tell this other person, oh, you did this, now I forgive you. That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is acknowledging the effects of what that person did to you. And just saying, this person did 1, 2, 3, but this is how it has affected me. This is how it's affecting my relationships right now. This is how it's affecting how I feel about myself. Being able to acknowledge, and again, that's a journey that's the 70% of the journey. Just being able to acknowledge the effect of it, and then making a choice, a very intentional choice to not allow those effects to be part of who you are going forward. And then now it's not an instant, but at least there's a place where you have to take responsibility. You have to take responsibility and say, these are the effects, but now I'm choosing to move forward. I'm choosing, and there's a big word now that's being used a lot in coaching and therapy spaces called reparenting. Reparenting is giving yourself what it is that you did not receive when you were young and you needed. But now that you're older, you have the capacity, you actually have the emotional resources, if you allow yourself to begin to give yourself that acceptance, that love, and to draw it from yourself, but also to draw from the things that work for you, whether it's your relationship with God, whether it's the relationships around you, whatever it is that you can draw as a resource for you then, because you can also just not give yourself everything. And so being able, and there are some people who are actually reparented in intimate relationships. There are those who are reparented in communities of faith. Okay. So whatever it is that works for you, but you need to make that choice. This is what happened. This is how it has affected me. And this is what I'm choosing to do going forward. And you allow it to be a journey.
Wow. This was so therapeutic to me. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad it was.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you so much. So, as a
You're
close,
welcome.
what are your closing remarks?
Oh, one, that healing is a journey.
Yeah.
Two is that you will still goof and make so many mistakes, and you have every day to restart, to
Yeah.
repair. Number three is that it's never too late to start this process, whether it's for yourself or for your children who you feel that you have ruined. We are such malleable creatures. We think it's only children, but we still are. And I always use my example. If I think about the level of growth that I've experienced in my life over the last 7 to 10 years, it's astronomical, you know. And I'm not young, you know. So it's never too late to start the process of repairing things, reparenting, healing, repairing your relationships where you can. It's never too late because our brains respond to the experiences that we expose them to. For ourselves and also for our children. So if you feel you made a mistake and your child now is struggling because they're teenagers, step back, check what is in your teacup, work on it, and then begin to provide the right environment to repair.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. I'm truly, truly honored. I think for me, the biggest thing is consistency. In whatever journey you take, consistency. Thank you, Dr. once again. And everybody who has taken their time to watch this, I hope you feel as nice as I do. I really hope so, because I think this is everything I needed to hear, especially in my journey as a parent. It's a continuous process, but every day there is something that I learn. Thank you so much, and have yourselves a good day. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me, Doc.
Thank you.